she's known for her down-the-earth personality on Live 5 News This Morning and Fox 24. And in this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups, I talk with Ann McGill. And I know that you have been the co-anchor of Live 5 News This Morning and the Fox 24 Morning News at 7 for some time now.
Going on 5 years.
Yeah, how's that going?
Let me tell you, that early morning wake-up call is no joke.
I bet.
A lot of people always ask me, Ann, how early do you have to get up? 2:15.
Yes.
2:15 is when I get up every morning. And, some days it's easier than others, but when I get in here and I get to work, that first cup of coffee and turn on my computer, hey, it's all on it.
And before the 2 a.m. wake-up call, you actually would have a 12 p.m., 4 p.m., and 5 p.m. anchor here at Channel 5.
Yeah.
With Bill Sharp. And from what I saw, that you guys had such a great on-air chemistry. He told the Post Inquirer in 2010, quote, "She is bright, she's extremely talented, and funny as can be."
And all of those things are true.
Yeah.
He is right.
But then, I want to know this too. How can you describe Bill Sharp?
Oh my gosh. How long do we have?
As long as you want to.
I don't know if there's enough time in the day to describe Bill Sharp. I think the thing that most people might find surprising about Bill Sharp is that although he is serious about his job, he doesn't take himself seriously. Yeah. He jokes about himself all the time, and talks about goof-ups and things like that. Bill is a great guy, and I really credit Bill with making me feel at home here at Live 5 News, and I told him that. But when I came, he was so welcoming and just showed me the ropes and helped me along, gently corrected me because I was still a young journalist when I came here, gently correcting me to help me do my best. But Bill Sharp is the best, and he really is a great guy.
I want to take you back in the day to where you were growing up in Williamsburg County, where I understand you grew up on a farm with cows and pigs.
Tobacco farm, and loved it. You know what? When I was growing up, I thought, this has to be the worst way for a kid to grow up, You're in the fields all the time. But now as I look back and I see all of the challenges that young people have, all of the distractions and all of the things that can take them down the wrong path, I appreciate growing up on a farm because you know what? You learned hard work, you learned integrity, and you learned to work with a group, and you just learned to value and love family and time because we didn't have a whole lot else. That was the best upbringing the more I think about it. And I'm so happy that my parents brought me up and taught me the values that they did.
And Neesmith is so rural that I read that they actually had they went all out for a Mule funeral.
Now, that was actually a mistake. When the Post and Courier reporter had interviewed me, and she was asking me about some of the books I had read, and I told her, I said, my favorite book, is that book by, now I can't even think of her name.
Don't worry about it.
But the book was called Their Eyes Were Watching God.
Right.
And in one of the scenes, she talks about a funeral for the mule, and I tell her I can identify with that so much because growing up on the farm, the animals played an important part. And people would ask you, how are your cows doing? How are your pigs doing? Do you still have that cow that's getting out all of the time? And I was telling her that I can identify with that book so much. But no, that actually happened in a book, but that didn't happen in my life. But animals really did play an important role in growing up in a rural area.
And I want to continue to walk down memory lane because I understand you got intrigued with journalism by preparing for oratory contests during high school.
Yeah, when I was in high school, if you weren't in 4-H, then there wasn't a whole lot else to do. But we did have Future Business Leaders of America at my high school. So I was involved in that. And in doing that, I used to write reports about events that the students at my school attended for the local newspaper.
King Street News.
And then I also had the opportunity in FBLA to compete in speaking contests. I won local contests. I won the state competitions a couple of years in a row. Had the chance to go to the national competitions and compete and placed in some of those. And I thought, okay, maybe I could do this thing professionally. So that's what piqued my interest. And then when I went to USC, I was like, I definitely want to do this.
And speaking of that, you took your writing experience to radio, to WCOS-AM in 1987.
WCOS in Columbia, and that was really interesting because the FM was country music, the AM was news talk. and working at a country music radio station. I don't think I had ever listened to country music before before that time. So I was listening to the songs, and one of the songs was "All My Exes Live in Texas," and that's why I hang my hat in Tennessee. And I'm like, okay, so this is country music.
Yes.
It was a very interesting experience, but I had a great opportunity there to get my footing and to learn more about journalism, and just to learn that there's so much more to this business. So yeah, I had an awesome time at WCOS. My boss at WCOS, still one of the best people in the world. He was so encouraging, but so real, and gave me some great tips for trying to continue on in the business. So Jake Bolden, I give him a great big shout out.
There you go. Let's talk about college, the University of South Carolina. I'm wondering, who was Ann McGill as a college student?
Ooh, I ran into one of my classmates at USC, and she laughs and she talks about, Ann, so and so, and I remember how you used to sit at the front of the class and you never look back. I said, girl, I came from Neesmith. There's nothing in Neesmith except, especially at that time, I'm like, our closest movie theater is still 45 minutes away. I said, girl, I couldn't go back home, so I had to graduate from college. I had to do well because I had to get a job so I could try to go someplace else, because there are no TV stations in Neesmith.
Right. And later in your career, I understand that you actually switched to television after someone at a party convinced you to move over to television.
It was a function. I was still doing radio when I left here in 1991, I believe it was. And I was part of a journalism group. And so we were having a party, really a reception, to honor some African-American journalists who had gotten promotions in the Greensboro, North Carolina area. And one of the people who came was the assistant news director for a TV station. And after she met me, she called me and said, hey, I know you're doing radio. We listen to you all the time. We would really like for you to come and work on our team. But it wasn't for a position in front of the camera. It was to work behind the scenes. And I was glad to do it. I was 5 months pregnant at the time with my first son, and I thought, wow, I can't believe they want to hire me. But they did. I was hesitant. But I took it and worked behind the scenes, and it was eye-opening, learning, the differences between radio and television. Same beast, but you definitely had to approach it in a different manner. And after being there a year or so, one of the anchors who I did a lot of writing for suggested that they give me an on-air position, and the rest, they say, is history.
But I want to back it up to 1989. When you were working at Foxy 104 in Mount Pleasant.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I had so much fun here in Charleston when I worked at Foxy 104. Foxy was in Mount Pleasant, right there on Coleman Boulevard. Boy, the characters that came through that radio station. See, the thing with radio is, people can't see you, so you can have a lot of fun.
Dress any way you want to.
Terry Bass and I worked on air together, and I can remember times where I'm trying to do the news or something, and they would come in and they would be squirting water on me, and I'm having to not laugh on the air as I'm delivering this serious news story. They would do a lot of crazy stuff like that. And we would dance in the studio all the time because, again, it's radio, and it was a hip-hop station, or R&B, I should say. So, yeah, we had a fantastic time. That was a lot of fun. I was there for about 2 years, and then that's when I left, got married, and moved to North Carolina. But, man, I had some great times at Foxy 104.
And let's talk about Greensboro, Fox 8 in 1994.
Yeah.
You worked behind the scenes for what I heard.
Worked behind the scenes at first, and was helping. My job was to help reporters set up their stories and get their contacts together, get their interviews going. And I also we call it the assignment desk. So a lot of that is you're sitting up, listening to the police scanners. And very serious job, because twice when I sat on the desk, I heard reports of shots fired and police officer down. And, it's very, very sobering, and you realize, wow, this is very serious. This is happening, and it is our job to get that reporter out to the scene, find out what's happening, but, not impose ourselves on the officers as they try to do their jobs. And you really understand just how delicate that balancing act is. But, twice sitting on the desk and having to call and tell a reporter, shots fired, police officer down. But it was a great experience to understand just how this operation works.
And in 2001, when Carolyn Murray left to Chicago, you came back here to Charleston. Yeah,
I can remember my contract was about to be up in North Carolina. At that time, I was the weekend anchor, and I kind of felt like I was making my husband a single parent every weekend, because every weekend I went off to work and he would be there with our son, Christopher.
Right.
And I decided, okay, time for a change. I think I've grown enough in this position. In order to grow some more, I need a different experience.
Sure.
And so my husband and I talked, and we were trying to weigh our options. And I was like, well, he was like, okay, I'll tell you what, just kind of look around. He was like, there are certain places you cannot go. We're not going any place where it's really cold.
Cold, yeah, I don't blame
And no
him.
place on the West Coast, because he's very family oriented.
Yes.
So he was like, no place on the West Coast and no place really cold.
Yes.
So I'm just like browsing. I'm like, okay, let's see what my options are. And I'm like, well, let's just see if there's anything in Charleston.
Yes.
And I saw the opening for an anchor, and I thought, oh my gosh, nobody ever leaves Channel 5.
Channel 5, right.
Who's leaving Mighty 5? You know, like,
And it was Carolyn Murray.
This is the station I grew up watching.
Yes.
What an awesome opportunity that would be. So I jumped on it.
Good.
You know, instead of just sending in my resume, I remember calling the news director at the time, and I said, listen, I'm so-and-so. I'm from that area.
Yes.
I'm looking for a job. I can be there Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, whatever time you want. So you pick the day. You know, I thought I'm going to really, really be out there with this one. You know, I'm going to take the bull by the horns and just
Sure.
really put myself out there. And he was like, okay, I tell you what, be here on this particular day. And I thought, oh my gosh, now I got to try to get off work.
Yeah, exactly, just for this job.
Yeah.
Well, you know, describe to me the following in one word. Volunteering.
Fulfilling.
Royal Baptist Church.
Oh my gosh, awesome.
2 a.m.
Early.
Reading.
Variety.
Channel 5.
Wonderful.
Ann McGill.
Beautiful.
Let's talk about family for a moment. As you touched on this earlier, your husband Gregory. How did you guys meet?
You know what? I only share this story every now and then,
Okay.
but you're not going to believe the story about how my husband and I met. We were actually born on the same day.
Yeah.
I was being born at the King Street Hospital,
Yes.
and my mom says she remembers the nurse coming through and mentioning that they were on their way to Neesmith, which is, you know, just a few miles away,
Right.
to go help a young lady who was delivering a baby at her home, at her parents' home. And that baby boy was my husband. We were born on the same day. So because I was born first, he always says he married an older woman, but we were born on the same day. We were best friends all throughout middle school and high school and even college, always friends. And then one day he called me and he was like, hey, I want us to get together. And I was like, yeah, I want us to get together too. So I was living in Columbia at the time, and I said, so I'll come to Greensboro and visit you and another friend.
Sure.
And something happened. I had to work and I couldn't go. And so when I called him to tell him, he said, you know, I'm really disappointed because I was looking forward to us getting together. I said, no, I was looking forward to us getting together too. And he said, no, you don't understand. I was looking forward to us getting together.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I know. He was like, no, you don't understand. I was looking forward to us. And I was like, whoa, where did that come from?
And so did you think that this is God's plan for your life?
You know, I debated it, and I was like, you know what? He was always such a good friend to me. Really like a brother. And we used to say that we were brother and sister because we were born on the same day. And I thought, you know what? You know, he's going to be serious about this. So I thought, I think this is going to be my husband. But we did date for 3 years.
Oh, good.
Because I wanted to be sure now. Mama didn't raise no fool.
I love you. That's awesome. Well, you know, together you guys had Christopher and Nicholas.
Mm-hmm.
For those people who don't know them, actually, describe them.
Well, and we also have a daughter. My husband has a daughter.
Yakima.
And a lot of people joke and say we have 3 only children because Yakima is 27.
Yes.
She lives in New York. Christopher is 18.
Yeah.
And Nicholas is 8.
I was just doing the calculations just the other day.
So they're all like 10 years apart. And they couldn't be more different. And they couldn't be more enjoyable. My husband and I often laugh and talk about, you know, how funny they all are together and everything. Yes. So, yeah, they're great kids.
That is awesome. Well, you know, this is something that my mother and grandmother and a lot of people do, and you do this as well. Mm-hmm. You keep obituaries.
I do. You know, my mom does that, and my sisters and I used to laugh and think, oh, how weird, and kind of even maybe how morbid. But then when you read an obituary, what do you have? When a person was born, when they died, their entire life history. And especially now, people are being more creative with obituaries. And it's not just they were born, they died, they went to school here, they worked here. They share personal things about them. I had a cousin who died in the D.C. area, and on her obituary, they talk about the fact that because she lived on the Beltway, traveling either to the north or to the south, relatives and friends always stopped at her house, and they could always get a great meal no matter the time or day.
Sit down.
Great conversation and wonderful hospitality. And it's like, wow, so obituaries are really an awesome way to have someone's entire life on one piece of paper right there in front of you.
That is really awesome. Well, I can't let you go without me asking you about your next chapter.
Ooh, the next chapter, you know what? I'm really not sure. I am definitely enjoying the ride here at Live 5. I still think I have some more growing to do.
Okay.
And the chance to work on the morning show is certainly showing me, that I could make some adjustments. And that's a big part of what news is, always making the adjustment and kind of juggling the changes. So I see myself doing news for a little bit longer, but after that, I'm actually very interested in being a financial counselor. One of the things I've seen is so many people are struggling financially. Yeah. And what I've really learned is we don't have to, but we have bought into all of the image and into all of the propaganda that, in order to be happy, you have to have the finest things that your money can buy.
Right.
Boy, is that a big lie.
It really is.
And all we do is get ourselves into a lot of debt, and then we have to work because we have to pay those bills, and then we really miss out on enjoying life. So I spend a lot of time, even now at my church, I teach Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University classes, because I just see people struggling, and I thought the thing that really amazes me is that it's so senseless. It's so needless. All we have to do is understand what money really is. Right. Money really does not make us happy. It can help us to buy conveniences that will make our lives easier, but it really doesn't make us happy. And I see people really changing their mindset when they come out of that class, and it's so encouraging. So I think I want to try to do something like that to continue to make a difference and an impact in people's lives.
And you know what the Bible says?
The Bible says,
when you didn't bring anything into this world, and you didn't take anything out.
There you go. There you go. So let's not have all this struggle in between. He did not mean for us to be fretting about work every day because we have these bills to pay.
No. You're absolutely right. Well, Ann McGill, was so great talking to you.
It was a pleasure talking to you, too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.